Okay, so people consider cheating a lot of different things, but I think having a virtual girlfriend in VR doesn't count as cheating, unless it does. I don't know, I'll let you guys decide. But before we get into the story, make sure you guys do leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Seriously, it means a lot when you guys do. And let's just jump straight into this. Yo, what is going on, you guys? My name's Bubba, and welcome back to a really embarrassing story. So today's story all takes place back in my grade 10 year. So in grade 10, one thing that was really trending and that was going through the internet was virtual reality. If you guys don't know what VR is, basically VR is when you wear a headset and you go into any world that you want to be in. For example, if I wanted to wear a headset and become Batman, there's a game where you could literally be Batman in VR. It's really cool, and I think I might buy one for myself. I don't know if I really want to spend the money to buy a virtual reality, but at the same time, I think it's really cool. And I remember back when I was in grade 10, I got a virtual reality given to me by a friend, and let's just say I ended up doing some naughty things on there. Now the story starts off in my grade 10 year, and I remember I was walking down the hallway of my high school. I was walking down it, basically going on my phone and watching some videos of, YouTubers playing VR. I think at this time I was watching Jacksepticeye play a VR game. I'm not sure which, to be honest, but it seemed hilarious and really cool how this guy was literally living in a different world with just a headset. And I remember I was really entertained in watching him, and that's when my buddy came up to me right behind me with his hand on my shoulder saying, "Yo, bro, are you looking at the virtual reality stuff? It's so cool. Did you know I got one?" I remember I looked at him and said, "Wait, bro, what? You got a virtual reality?" And that's when I asked him and almost begged him to let me borrow it. And I remember as I was basically asking my friend to use the virtual reality, or at least borrow it for some certain amount of time, I remember my girlfriend came up behind me and said, "Babe, what are you talking about?" Now this time I was dating a girl, or dating. In reality, she was a friends with benefits that wanted more, but at the same time, she basically thought we were in a relationship. As for me, well, I was a total player, so I really did not care or give absolutely two, well, I guess is the best way to say it, but you know what I mean. And I remember when my girlfriend was asking me about the virtual reality, I basically explained to her how it's so cool how you could literally live in a new world. She ends up basically making fun of it, saying, "Oh, like you could just live in the real world," and basically sounding like every other woman that's like a feminist that really does not care about the cool life of video games, which is kind of weird, but at the same time, who really cares? And then I remember my buddy said, "Okay, bro, okay, listen, if you want to borrow it, I'll let you borrow it, man. Like, I don't mind." And at that point, I thanked him so much to the point where I gave him a hug. And then I remember he said he would pass it to me the next day at school. After when he told me he would do that, he ended up walking away, and I started walking with my girlfriend to my next class. And as I was walking with her, I remember she ended up telling me, "Bubba, you do realize tomorrow we're like going out on a date, right? Like you're not gonna just be playing that dumb VR game all night, right?" And I remember I promised her how I'll, make some time for her. I just really want to try this out and maybe get one for myself, and walks away into her next class. And me, all I had in my mind was how excited I was to play virtual reality. Now this is where the story gets a little annoying, because I remember the next day my friend passes me the virtual reality headset and I put it in my backpack, and me going throughout the school day, all I could think about was playing that VR headset. It was like getting a console on Christmas but not being able to open it till Christmas, and you just have to wait, and you're just at that point of like begging to do whatever you can to just open it right now early. Well, me, I ended up doing that, except since, we were in the middle of July and it was still the school year, I remember I ended up basically ditching school and going home early. Yes, I did skip school, and no one should skip school, by the way. No one. This is a warning to you students out there. Don't skip school. It doesn't make you cool unless you're me. But going on with the story, I remember basically from there, I ended up going home and I plugged in the virtual reality headset, and I ended up hopping into virtual reality. And I remember I was playing all different types of games, except there was this one game that I really wanted to try out that I found that was trending throughout the internet, and that was VR chat. Now, if you guys don't know what VR chat is commonly known for, interactions with other people. You can go into like a bar setting, you can go into like any setting and just hang out with people in real life. Okay, well, real life. I can't really say actually real life, but you know what I mean, in the virtual world. And basically, I remember I started playing that game, and I, walked around, I met people, and I met this one girl on VR that was way too interested in me. Now, obviously, she didn't know what I actually looked like, but she saw my username, and she ended up searching me up on Instagram, which, by the way, you guys should all follow my Instagram if you guys haven't already. And she found out what I look like, and she just kept flirting with me, and then she followed me, and I found out what she looks like. And let's just say me and her, we got kind of close. It got to the point where even after we were done playing the game of virtual reality or VR chat or whatever it was, we ended up still texting and basically saying how, we should hang out again, which is really weird because the only times we could hang out was in virtual reality, but you guys know what I mean. Me and her, we started texting back and forth, and things got even more flirty over time. And I know what you guys are thinking, yo, bro, you have a girlfriend. Reminder, she was a friends with benefits, okay? She was not my girlfriend. So I had full rights to flirt with this woman. Sorry, I had to make sure that was out there because I don't want people thinking I'm a cheater, even though I have cheated on my, you know what? That's a story for another time. Going on though, I remember afterwards, I was basically, you know, texting this girl and stuff. And then out of nowhere, my girlfriend in the real world ended up basically knocking on the door. She knocked on the door and then she ended up coming downstairs and hanging out with me in my room. Now, when she was in my room, I remember she was basically just like, you know, hanging out with me, talking to me, flirting with me. And basically one thing led to another. We ended up doing the Devil's Tango, which is honestly something that we would usually do. It's nothing new. And then afterwards, I remember she told me, Bubba, is it cool if, like, I don't know, we actually like maybe go on a proper date instead of just always going to your house? Now, at this point, this was something that she always wanted to do because, well, she was actually like, you know, interested in me to the point where she wanted to date me. But obviously me, I was a total F-boy. So I guess in a way, like, I didn't really care as long as I kept doing the Devil's Tango with her. I guess, you know, why not? So I ended up saying, yeah, sure, like we can go on a date tomorrow if you want. And then she told me that she would be at my house the next day at 6:30. I remember the next day was a Saturday and I didn't go to school, and basically I was just chilling at home all day. And I mean, every hour of my morning going on to the afternoon was me playing virtual reality. But no, I wasn't playing any other games, and no, I wasn't playing anything new. I was kept playing VR chat and hanging out with the same girl that was interested in me before. Yes, the same girl that I was flirting with online. In a way, I guess we could call her my virtual girlfriend, which honestly in my mind kind of is gross, because knowing that nowadays people do that on the regular, like especially those Discord mods out there, I gotta admit it's kind of crazy. But basically I remember me and this girl, we ended up like, you know, hanging out in VR chat, and we were just, you know, talking and more flirting, and it got to the point where we ended up kissing in VR. It was weird. Okay, it was weird. I can understand that, but still, going on with the story, I remember from there things got really awkward. The next minute she tells me in VR, Bubba, do you want to, like, I don't know, like maybe like go to a different setting, if you know what I'm talking about? And to be honest, I did not know what she was talking about, but then she ended up changing the room, or I guess like the lobby or server we were in, to a house. And basically me and her, we went upstairs and she told me to sit down on my bed IRL, and we ended up doing the Devil's Tango in virtual reality. You guys are probably wondering, what does that look like? Honestly, I can't explain it because YouTube monetization might demonetize this video if I do, but you guys understand what I mean. I remember me and her were doing that in virtual reality, and I'm not gonna lie, like she was making noises, I was pretending to make noises just so it really fit the theme. And right as, you know, I'm about to, you know, nut in virtual reality, or Devil's Creep, I ended up hearing a voice, and it wasn't coming from my virtual reality girlfriend. It ended up coming from the girl that wanted to go on a date with me in real life. I remember I took off my headset and I'm like, oh, like you're here? And this girl had the biggest shock on her face, to the point where she looked at me as if she just saw a dead body. She looks at me and says, Bubba, what are you doing? What are you doing on that VR headset? And she ends up grabbing the VR headset, putting it on, and she's like, what the hell? And she sees basically a virtual girl anime figure riding me. You know, it was just a really bad experience. And honestly, she caught me red-handed. Well, I guess eggplant-handed, if anything. But it was really bad. I remember I was so embarrassed, and I was like, listen, like, I can explain. And she ended up just leaving my house and unadding me on Snapchat and all my socials. And if you guys are wondering what happened to my virtual reality girlfriend, well, she heard the whole thing happen, and basically she ended up clipping it and sending it to me, and basically said we were over. So I guess in that day, I lost two girlfriends, my virtual one and my real one. Or I guess I wasn't really dating any of them because I was being a total F-boy, but you guys know what I mean. Moral of the story is, don't do the Devil's Tango on virtual reality. It could lead to just really dumb stuff. Anyways, guys, that is basically it for today's story. Make sure you guys do leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Seriously, it means a lot when you guys do. And like I always say, follow for more embarrassing stories. Peace out, guys.
Why does it always feel like your goals are so far away? With Cash App,